Good evening, everyone. My name is lau.ra, and welcome to Wonk Creator Clinic. This is the second time we've ever done this, and tonight we have teamed up with the incredible DVINE Sounds, which is obviously Sam Divine's record label. And she is joined tonight by label manager Cash Only on the end. And we also have Lois Marshall in the house, who is head of radio and promotions from Defected Records. I will be moderating along with one of our Wonk residents, Lex Hearth, who's sat next to me right here.
Are you guys alive?
Yeah,
Bit sleepy.
We can't really see anything.
It's very dark out
We're
there.
going to rely on some noise. Basically, it's International Women's Day tomorrow, so this whole evening is loosely based around that. The discussion is going to be concentrating around, say, women and progression in the dance music industry, but also for other gender minorities, and just a general chat about where things are. If any of you have any questions that you want to raise during the panel, we're very welcoming of questions. There is a roving mic somewhere in the benches. Yep, over here in this corner, so we'll be able to hand you that so we can hear you. So yeah, welcome. Do you want to dive into it, Lex?
Yeah, I was thinking I might just kick off with, I feel like the sort of big opener, obvious one. But some people submitted questions, and one of the questions that obviously came up a lot was, from a label point of view, what are the kind of key ingredients when it comes to signing a record? So when you're looking at both an artist and a track, what is it in that package that makes something worth signing?
Well, I mean, DVINE Sounds has been going 10 years next month. We're celebrating 10 years. And the first artist that I ever signed was a guy called Curtis Gabriel. And he kind of sent me a SoundCloud link, and he literally had like 100 followers on his SoundCloud. So I wasn't even looking at it from a social media point of view. I was actually pretty pissed that he wasn't getting any love from bigger labels, because I was playing all of his records in my sets, peak time sets. And at that point, actually, I hadn't actually started the record label, and I was having lunch with my manager, and I was kind of expressing, that I was frustrated about this because I wanted to help him. And my manager was like, so why don't you just start a record label and sign him? And I was like, can I do that? I mean, this was 10 years ago when there was only one other female that I knew at the time, Anya Schneider, who had her record label. So that, 10 years ago, people weren't really starting up record labels. So, me and my best friend, Camilla, who works at Defected, we just started it and kind of threw him into the fire, really. Did a compilation and put him on a Defected sampler as well. So when I'm signing artists, I should probably pass this one over to you, because you're doing a lot of A&R for the label right now.
Yeah. I think the elephant in the room probably is, do people sign music anymore because you've only got 50 followers or you haven't got the social profile? I think that's from speaking to people at places like ADE and people that I meet at events, etc. A lot of people are like, oh, no one will sign my music because I'm not as big as other people. But it honestly isn't about that. And if you look at the music we put out last year as an example, there was a lot of emerging talent, or what I would call emerging talent, out there that haven't necessarily got the profile, but have got the stuff that what we really want. And what I want is to work with people that will work behind the record and to work that record. And again, that doesn't just mean making a quirky bit of creative content that we think might go viral. It's like, can I push it? Will my community get behind it? I mean, even me, people say to me sometimes, oh, you've only got like 9,000 followers. And I say, yeah, but, I want 9,000 followers that are like following me, rather than, I could get 100,000 followers tomorrow if I wanted. And that might look good to bookers, I pitch music myself. I don't just sign tracks to DVINE Sounds, I've released on a number of record labels, so I have to do this as well. So I understand both flip sides of the coin, but I just want a strong community behind me. And I think my advice to anyone is, don't worry too much about what your socials look like. They are important, we know that. But, if you can build a real strong community of even 100 people, that's worth, I think, a lot more than 10,000 followers. Is that a question? Oh, no, you're...
Cool. Sorry, just a technical question. Can we all nudge across a bit so you're in the light, Cash?
Sorry.
I had a question, Cash, around whether you've seen any progression, because obviously the underground, especially house music underground, is notoriously has been male dominated. Are you seeing more demos coming through from women and gender minorities, or is it how do you ensure that you are putting diversity into DVINE sounds? And
yeah,
it's really hard. It's really hard. We don't get many demos from females, and it makes me so sad. Yeah. I started a new brand called Cloud9 coming out of lockdown, and I purposely booked all female DJs for my warm-up, and none of them produced. Right. Yeah. So I think, I don't know whether it's a confidence thing or, I don't know. It's that's a burning question, why they're not more female-led producers, because if there's any out there, we're here for it. Yeah.
I think part of it as well is about what we can do as a label, and a relatively sizable label run by number one house DJ in the world, 2024. What can we do as a label to support and nurture talent as well? And in this day and age, there's lots of support available from people that you can pay, like mix engineers, and even people, you can go and sit down with people and tell them how you want the track to sound, or give them a sketch and get them to work it up, And I'd really like to do some stuff at DVINE Sounds where, a lot of my background 20 years ago was about education and creative empowerment to disengage communities, so people who are out of work, not in employment, education or training. And we use the arts predominantly as a vehicle to support them into things like back to college or into employment or how to write a CV, etc. So there's some stuff going on with DVINE Sounds at the moment where we're gearing up. And I'd really like to run, whether it be like some workshops or, even just get some aspiring female producers in a room with a really talented mix engineer and just see what comes out of it. Because that would be really cool and interesting. And, at DVINE Sounds, we don't just want to be another record label. We do want to make a difference. We do want to support and empower females in the industry because we know that they are underrepresented. I see the struggle, in the 3 years that me and Sam have been together. I see the struggle that sometimes Sam has in this industry. And God knows what it was like 10 years ago when we weren't together. But, I think there is a leveler playing field now. But I still think there can be more that can be done. But I think it's not just about demos from females per se. It's about quality demos in general. And, anecdotally, from the things we receive, the diversity of the music is sometimes very wild and wacky. And there's some other tips and tricks that maybe we can talk about and bits of advice that we can give people when sending demos about what to do and what not to do, etc. But, we can come to that later.
I think even as Defected as a record label as well, we, in a perfect world, it'd be 50-50. That's what we want to strive for. We don't want to leave, the guys out as well, But right now it is Women's International Month, and that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And just sorry, one last point. The one thing that I'm a big fan of is proactive A&R, because I'm a big believer that your latest release is your best demo. And even myself as an artist, I've had labels reach out to me and say, "Oh, we really like that song. Have you got any demos?" And I like to do that. So one thing that myself and Sam's management are doing at the moment is we're drawing up a massive list of female producers. And it was interesting, actually. I went through the Beatport Top 100 the other week, and there was maybe 4 or 5 tracks in there from females. And so, it just made me think we need to do a little bit more. And obviously on that list, you can have some big hitters, even some females that we're probably never going to be able to get music from, and we're going to have some very emerging talent. But there's obviously going to be a blend in there, and whatever we can do to reach out to them, their managers, and whatever to say, hey, have you got some demos? We can help to put these guys further in the forefront.
Definitely. And Lois, is your experience at radio similar? Do you feel like you're pushing a lot of, are you able to kind of balance it a little bit with, gender-wise, or is it mainly...
Yeah, I think so. Like Sam was saying, at Defected, we do strive for pushing as many women as possible. But I definitely think, to your point earlier, Sam, there's women who maybe don't have the confidence to be submitting their demos. And I can't tell you why that is. I'm not a producer myself, but it does make me really sad. And I want to be pushing as many women as possible. But I do think there is definitely a lack of women maybe putting themselves out there. Yeah.
What I feel like Defected, of the kind of bigger labels, has obviously it has a huge legacy, but has been more proactive than maybe some other labels in terms of like championing female talent for a longer period of time. I was wondering about some of the things. Are there lessons that other labels can take from what Defected's done to apply? Like, is it doing any internal programs, or is it just been a case of identifying talent?
I think it's just identifying talent. I mean, we're always doing things. We do things behind the scenes that people won't even know about. Like, we've recently just launched a committee called Elevate, which we haven't put anywhere on our socials yet. No one will in this room will probably know about it unless you've been to one of the events. We did our first event last year. So it's just about kind of bringing women and non-binary people into a room and helping them. We had like a mixer last year. We had lots of students there. We had experts. We had Afro DEiTY from Six Music doing a talk. And we're just doing things like that behind the scenes. We don't want to blast it everywhere. We don't feel the need to. I mean, there will be a point we put about Elevate on our socials, but we don't feel the need to kind of put it out there like we're doing this. We just do it because we want to do it and we really, really care about the cause.
I think that's really key, hosting events like that, where you have an equal split of women and men in the room, because it's quite intimidating. I mean, Sam, you must know from years of gigging like that, walking into a green room where you're the only person that looks like you it can take such a lot of energy to keep putting yourself in those rooms. And so I think events like that, like you're saying, where you walk in and yes, it's a mixer, or it's maybe even a recording studio. Just even walking to a recording studio and seeing a female engineer is like, great, someone that looks like me, you know? It's like, and suddenly the whole session is a lot more relaxed. That's my experience of it anyway. So I think that is key, like getting more women in industry roles like yourself, Lois, but also in engineering roles and promoter roles and in all aspects of the industry.
Well, going back to that, I mean, I've been with signed to Defected now for 17 years, and I was the only female on the lineup for a good 10 years, you know, and Defected are really pushing that diversity now. You know, it took, you know, uncomfortable conversations and people actually using their platforms to talk about it and research it for Defected to do that. But it also comes down to, again, talent. You know, I'm a big champion of female artists, but it all comes down to talent, you know. And a lot of female DJs that kind of come out the gates from 2020 are mostly playing tech house. So Defected isn't a tech house label. So what? And we're not a tech house label. So why would Defected then book a tech house warm up if the Defected sound is house, you know? So it's really difficult, and I think Defected have definitely, you know, they are taking the lead in that over the last definitely 4 years. And I'm here for it 'cause now I'm not the only chick on the lineup, so.
Definitely, and I think at Defected, like, some of you in the room might know are the lovely Wes Saunders, who is our CEO, co-owner. He is, if any of us feel like we have an issue with lineups, or he is open to that conversation, and I don't think many people in the office would feel scared or intimidated to have that conversation with him. Like, we can be very open. If we aren't happy about something, we've got a lot of strong females in our office, and Wes is always open to it, as are our events team as well. So yeah, that's another thing we're really lucky to have.
One thing I thought would be good to talk about was, as well as obviously trying to get your tracks signed to big labels, I think one thing that you're kind of a great example of, Sam, is like actually starting your own label or starting your own platform is a really good way to get your music out there in the early stages. And I think, as you also mentioned, like there is a real shortage of female-led record labels and female-originated labels and platforms. So I was wondering if any of you had could just do a bit of like a rundown of how you start a label in the first place and what it looks like and things to think about.
Well, I mean, it was just kind of three best friends running a record label, and it was just like we were winging it. But we were going to ADE, we were going to Miami, we were going to IMS, and we were just like there with our notepads, sat at the back making notes, you know, and just annoying everyone in the room and asking loads of questions. And that's how we kind of, you know, we just had fun when we first started out. Now it's a business, you know, but when we first started out, it was just so much fun. And we were just signing records that we loved. They'd come in, and I wouldn't give a shit if they had X amount of, you know, followers on Instagram or on SoundCloud. If it made us get up and dance when we were A&R in it, then we would sign it. And it was just so much fun doing it that way. And now you've got to think about, we were talking earlier about, is this a record for radio? Matt's heavily on, does this, is this good for streaming? And, when you take all of that out, it almost loses the authenticness of it a little bit, I think. But because I really championed that right from the start, when I'm signing records, I'm like, is this going to be played peak time in my sets in America, in Australia, in Asia, in Europe, in the UK? If the answer's yeah, we're signing it.
One thing you always do, sorry Sam, is when you sign a record, you hammer it. You always play the records you sign.
To death.
Always. And some people don't know. Some people don't, but you hammer the record you sign. So
I was literally just about to say that. I think that makes you very unique, because there are a lot of DJ-owned labels out there that will take your rights for a very long time and not play the record. Yeah. There's nothing more frustrating than that, but I got to say, you're like a real one for like signing the records you love and playing them.
Some DJs don't play their own records.
Well, I don't even play my own records, but I'll champion everyone else's.
Champion other people.
Yeah, exactly.
We've got one key caveat to any record that we sign at Divine Sounds is will Sam play it. Yeah. It's we don't say, we might make a load of money off that because it's really cool and it might do streaming. Like, if Sam's not playing it, then we won't sign it. Yeah. We don't, we put out 10 records a year roughly. We might, we like to do things like samplers and whatever to support more emerging talent and to introduce them to the label, and we can work with them to do an individual release and blah, blah, blah. But the crux of it is will Sam play it? And the other three provisos are, the first thing is cultural significance. So, this is from Defected as a whole. So there's three key things that we have to work to. Cultural significance, and for us, obviously, that is around the female agenda. Looking hard and searching wide for females to support. The other one is crossover potential. So, has this got an opportunity to potentially blow up? That's what used to happen. Tracks used to rewind. Craig David blew up on the underground, straight away signed. This is how records used to get signed 20, 25 years ago, 30 years ago almost. And the other one is an agenda. So maybe, we have an artist, there might be a strong female that we're working with that we want to support, to elevate, to be part of the team or something like that. So, yeah, that's three other key things that we do. But the crux of it is if Sam don't play it, then we're not signing it.
Not a diva at all.
Very good. I wanted to move topics slightly, but one of the questions that comes up a lot last time we did this clinic was burnout, and you kind of touched on it a little bit there, Cash, like the amount of different things that artists have to cover now, the socials, the making the tunes, the promoting the tunes, going out, touring the tunes, and I noticed, Sam, yesterday or something, I saw your story about how your health on tour compared to when it's at home, and the stark difference there. And I just wondered if all three of you, same for you, Lois, as well, because I'm sure that when season's busy, you are run off your feet.
She loves a party.
Yeah. But do you have...
Don't we all?
Well, I think this industry sucks a lot of energy, and when it's rolling, it's really rolling, and it's hard to get off, and it's easy to kind of spend a lot of energy. So do you, all three of you, do you have any, little rituals or anything to recharge yourself and put your feet back on the ground? Do you do anything to help yourself in that way to just slow it down? Or
I'm just abnormal and have about 4 hours sleep and just wake up and right in front of my laptop, and she's like, what are you doing?
Have a day off.
But my happy place is in front of my laptop. It is, or in the studio, or but I do need to try and be a little bit more active. But no, one thing we do say is, as a producer, for Sam especially, come April, May, forget about being in the studio, because, we were talking about, May yesterday, I think, and how busy it is. That'll be a record month for shows and everything else, and it's it doesn't stop till September, October. And you haven't got the headspace, from everything, her touring schedule. When did you leave? Friday? Yeah, left Friday. Basically came back Monday afternoon on the plane for 3 hours, and then had to turn around because someone was very ill. And then she missed a flight connection in London, had to get 3.5 hour taxi, got back in bed 12 o'clock, midnight or 12:30 on Tuesday. Do you really think she wants to go in the studio on Wednesday or Tuesday? It's and are we in March? Is it March?
Yeah,
just in March.
Okay. It's we're in March already. So you know, I
Also,
think.
the season's getting even longer, really,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah, and also, you know, again,
Years are getting longer.
music. It's just, yeah, you can get burnt out very easily at this level, and even it's exhausting for me. And I do like maybe 60-70% of the tours and my own stuff. But yeah, God no. And the other thing I say is, I'm a bloke. I just go in a hotel, you know, have a quick wash, go out. You know, if you're a female, right? Honestly, I'll take my hat off to you. And I tell you this all the time, because you come back and you've got your hair done, your nails did, you know, this waxed, that waxed.
It's a full-time job being
There's
a
all
woman,
sorts.
all right?
You've
It's a
got to think about
full-time
your
job.
outfits. You've got to do all these things. And honestly, again, I think as a male, we're like, people don't give female artists, you know, the props that you deserve, because it's not as easy as coming off tour and whatever. Do you know what I mean? So
It's the pressure looking good as well. Like when you're DJing, you've got a million cameras on you. You want to take.
That's right. Okay. I mean, that's quite interesting difference between, say, being a male DJ and a female DJ. Because imagine if you just happened to go and do a show like, actually, I'm not going to get dressed up. I'm not going to do my whole face. I'm just going to go and do it. And actually, like the amount of shit you'd probably get in the comments.
Well, I do that a lot. Sometimes I hardly wear any makeup. I just stick a hat on and that's me. I'm good to go. You know, I just want to. I just want to be comfortable. Yeah. But going back to your burnout question, I mean, I'm feeling pretty burnt out this week. You know, I cried all day yesterday. You know, and I'm not ashamed to say it. I did 3 long haul flights and it took me 24 hours to get home from LA on Sunday. And it's, you know, I played a beautiful festival in San Diego and then I did the after party and, you know, I did Montreal and Boston just this weekend, and looking the weekend before I was in Bali, Thailand, Singapore, and just the list goes on, you know, and it is exhausting. It is really, really, really exhausting, you know, even for a 20-year-old. I'm in my 40s and, you know, I've still got the same energy that I did in my 20s, but, you know, my body isn't a 20-year-old anymore. And, you know, now I'm a wife and I'm a stepmom and, you know, I've got to try and get that work-life balance as well. And that's exhausting, even just trying to get that balance, because then I get mum guilt, you know. My youngest is 15, so, you know, she's poorly at home in bed today. And I was like, you know, I've got to go to London and do this. And, you know, I didn't want to leave her. So it's like, yeah, it is exhausting. But I am 80 days sober today as well.
Oh, congratulations.
Well done, Sammy D.
Thank you. And I've chosen a life of sobriety now because, you know, I partied a lot pre-2020 and my mental health suffered significantly because of it. You know, I had a nervous breakdown. I wasn't enjoying DJing anymore. I was just on autopilot 24/7. You know, I was going to shows and I was just like a ghost up there. You know, I just wasn't feeling the music. I wasn't feeling touring anymore. And got myself, you know, a life coach, and I've been working on this life of sobriety now for 4 years, and hopefully this time, you know, I've nailed it, and I'm ridiculously focused now. Like, I'm super hyper focused and also super hyper focused on my health. You know, it's really important. This Whoop band, I've only had it a month, and it's seriously changed my life because I'm looking at my sleep pattern, how much stress I put on my body when you're DJing is insane. You know, the best
you get your steps in as well.
I do 25,000 steps now. Like
25,000 steps a set.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, my health now is so important to me. I didn't care before. I was just a workhorse. I was just a machine, and now I've got to kind of take that hat off because I want to be able to, you know, when I go home, switch off from work, which is, you know, the music industry doesn't sleep. It doesn't. If you want to be successful, you have to be at it 24 hours a day, you know, and when you've got children yourself, and, you know, it's hard, but, you know, after 25 years, I still really, really love it. And I love working with my husband on Divine Sounds, and, you know, working as a team, and to bring through emerging talent is so important now. And also to give them advice of, don't kill yourself doing it because it's not worth it. You know, it really isn't. But yeah, 25 years in the game and still going strong.
Amazing. Incredible. Does anybody have any questions to take from the audience at this point? Anybody out there? No?
Go on, don't be shy.
Yeah.
Are we on? We are. So going back to the point around the Elevate initiative, what other mechanisms are available to those groups that you are targeting, such as women and non-binary people? And do you think that promoting and marketing that initiative might be beneficial because there's a lot of noise?
Yeah, so it definitely is beneficial, but right now we don't want to appear not authentic, and we've just started, so it will definitely be something we will be putting out there. But for now, we're promoting it to the people who need to know. But there will be a point where you'll maybe see us on socials. Not sure when that will be, but that's all being discussed now. But it's very early days for Elevate, but it's all very exciting. And what was the first bit of your question?
What other mechanisms are there?
So other things, I don't know if anyone in the audience knows, but there's a few different networks that I like to speak about. So there's one called The Cat's Mother, who are amazing. So we've worked with them before on our first Elevate party mixer we did was with The Cat's Mother. They're amazing. They're for female and non-binary people, and they help women under 25 get some FaceTime with people in the music industry. So you can sign up with them and get a meeting. There's lots of experts who are part of the network, and you kind of say to them what area of music you're interested in, and they'll like matchmake you with someone. So they're amazing. But there's lots of like Instagram pages like She Said So. One of my friends runs a label called Not Bad for a Girl, which is amazing, but on her Instagram they're often posting some really helpful resources. So there's lots out there, and I'm constantly trying to put all these things on my TikTok that I've just started.
You're a good one, Lo. You're a good one. You're a real one.
Trying, but yeah, we're doing our best, and yeah, you will see more from Elevate soon.
And just from DVINE Sounds, so tomorrow we're going to drop a post. Obviously, we're spending a lot of time celebrating the amazing lau.ra and Sasha Gigi with her release on our label today, which has come out of the blocks very, very strong. Yeah. And we're very proud to have you as part of the team. But tomorrow also we're going to drop a little announcement where we're offering the opportunity for any females out there for International Women's Month. We want to celebrate you a little bit more. So any mixes that anyone's got, you'll find ways in which you can send them in. And we want to post them throughout the month on our SoundCloud and just big you guys up a little bit more.
Because I need some new gym mixes, so yeah.
Wicked.
One of the other things that I think a lot of people don't actually know about is like there's quite a lot of production communities out there, and I found them super helpful. So I've been part of one for 2 years now, and I was part of one before where we listen to each other's tracks. Like every month, we just get on a Zoom call and listen to each other's tracks and share feedback. And I mean, you can ask me about them, and I can share some of the ones that I know. But I think, to the point you made earlier about being kind of nervous in the early days of production, like having people to play your music to is so important, and actually something that a lot of people don't have in the early days of when you first start producing. Or you can send it to your friends, but you feel like maybe they're just being nice. So kind of you can even set it up with your friends, but that's something that I found super valuable.
Yeah. I wanted to touch slightly on mentorship, because Sam, you mentioned in the quote that you gave us that you've mentored a lot of other DJs. Did you ever have a mentor in your journey?
Yeah, I mean, Simon Dunmore, he was my mentor for 10 years, and for me, he's a ledge, right? He ran Defected for 25 years before, or 24 years before Wes Saunders took over it, and he threw me into the fire quite literally. I got signed in 2009. He was like, yeah, there you go to Colombia for your first international show. I was like, okay. And then it was just non-stop. And I just picked up so much from that, and warming up for the likes of like Kenny Dope, Dennis Ferrer, Sandy Rivera, all of my Kerry Chandler, like all of my heroes. And Simon, for me, even still now, has got the best A&R in the music business. He's an incredible A&R, and he is very inspirational in what he did with so many artists that have passed through the label that have gone on to do incredible things, really, really incredible things. So yeah, I learned from the best, really. And then it was just kind of, right, I've started my own record label, and I wanted it not even to be a mini Defected. It was just like I wanted the ethos of that behind it, and hopefully that's what we will continue to do, is just put out really good music. And we want to build a story with our artists that we sign as well. We don't just want to just sign a record and that's it and just move on. We want to build a story. We want to do radio shows with you, and we want to have you playing at our events, and that's really, really important for me to build, and to Matt as well, to build our artists as well. That's kind of at the core of everything that we do.
Absolutely. I think all of our artists in the room feel that releasing music in 2025, you can feel a little bit on your own and unsupported a lot of the time because it's so quick.
Yeah.
You know, you put something out and say you've got 2 weeks to really make an impact, and then it's like on to the next thing. When's your next tune coming out? You know, so I think that sounds incredible for, I'm sure, for all our artists in the room to hear that that's your ethos behind the label, because it can feel a little bit like, a little isolating a lot of the time, I think, and a little bit like you're kind of battling on your own. So that's good to hear. That's music to my ears. That's nice. What about you, Lois? Did you have any mentors getting into radio plugging?
With radio plugging, I kind of fell into it a little bit because I think work noticed I was a bit of a yapper and I was quite confident. They were like, you'll be good. But what I will say is when I did go into it, Wes Saunders, he did my job basically, and he still is my mentor. He's constantly helping me. Even sometimes he'll be like, right, I'm taking my like CEO hat off here and I'm going to talk to you as a mentor. So I would say right now, I literally had a phone call with him yesterday where it was basically like a mentor chat. Like, he is amazing, and where he actually did my job, the advice I get from him is so valuable. So yeah, he is great guy, great boss as well. So yeah.
Awesome. We are jumping into the last 10 minutes of our panel, so if anyone's got any burning questions, now would be the time to ask them. Yeah, go for it. I think there's a mic just on the front bench there. This lady in front, yeah.
Thanks. Do you think age is a barrier in terms of a female going into the industry as an artist, producer? Because I think if I just take a couple of questions back, the initiative that you mentioned, you said it was for under 25s. I'm of an age,
so yeah,
I tick a different box now. So yeah, is it a barrier really?
I think it's only a barrier if you make it a barrier, you know. I think if you have true authenticity, then that shines through, and talent shines through, you know. So, you know, I've got girls as young as 10 that follow me on my Instagram, and I've got women as old as 60 that follow me on my Instagram, you know. I don't know if you guys have seen these two women. They're called the Funkies on TikTok, and they're like over 50s, and they are a whole vibe. And I just look at my thing, oh my God, that is amazing. One of them sings, the other one DJs, and they both dance, and it's sick. It's such a joy to watch. So I think the only person to hold you back is you, because, you know, when I first started out 25 years ago, there was a very small circle of house DJs. So I feel like I've had to like smash those glass ceilings in and leave the door behind me open, you know, and I'm okay with going in first and kind of, you know, making the mistakes or not making the mistakes, and kind of just being that good role model and being inspiring for other female DJs. I just think if you love it and you're passionate about something, then yeah, age ain't nothing but a number. As cliche as that sounds, it really isn't. Like, 100%. True talent just shines through.
100%.
I mean, anecdotally, I mean, last year we put a track out from Charlotte Moss. Some of you may or may not know who she is. So, you know, she's of an age, perhaps. It would be rude of me to guess, but you know, she's amazing. And you know what? It's never ever come into my head, oh, that person's too young or that person's too old. We've often thought about, look, this is important. We need more female representation on the label, but I've never ever thought that. So, yeah, and she's an amazing producer, and again, she's a great example of someone that we had on a sampler. The conversations are still going now. At some stage, we'll probably do an individual release with her. In the meantime, she's used DVINE Sounds as a platform to then get tracks signed elsewhere. And, you know, I've given a little bit of advice. Oh, go and send this record to that A&R or that A&R. Or I've even sent it for her, to Moxie's A&R, and says, this isn't quite right for us, but I reckon it'll be right for you guys. So, yeah, you know, we do. And another thing, Big Ange, I don't know if people know who Big Ange is. So, Bassline Hero. Weirdly, someone's done a remix for me. He sent it to her. She played it at Boiler Room. Anyway, so I reached out to her to say thank you very much for that, blah, blah, blah. And then she said, oh, can you let Sam know that I really, really love her? And I was like, yeah, no problem. And then, so she was actually the reason why I started to think about doing this female mix series in International Women's Month. And she was like, oh, I've got mix. Can I send it? I was like, yeah, please do. So, yeah, Big Ange, again, you know, she's been around forever and sick DJ, and she does not look like atypical, like DJ. Do you know what I mean? So age has never come into it in my mind in any way, shape or form.
Absolutely. And I would add to that I think that's as much as it comes with its kind of mental health baggage, the social media. I think the benefit of social media right now is you're completely in control of your story. And there is you know, that just make it part of your story, you know, and that will shine, and you'll find people that will support that. There's a lot of support out there, and people that are seeking kind of, and will relate to that, you know. So I actually think lean into that in some ways. If that's something that's playing on your mind a lot, lean into that with the content you're making, and like you'll probably feel it will take off quite quickly. You know, for an example, Fish 56 Octagon, who's just smashed it in the last like couple of years, hasn't he? What, a 45-year-old man who was working like a full-time job and now has suddenly given up all of that and is the full-time DJ, you know? So it's like, it's
Socials
possible.
can be powerful.
Yeah.
He is the great example of
exactly.
that.
Own your story, you know, just own it. And you're in control of that. So. Any other questions?
I have a question that I was wondering today, and I'd like your opinion on this as well. Because it's such a challenge, I think, being an artist and a DJ. It's such a competitive industry, and it sometimes feels like so few people make it in a commercial sense, let's say. You might have experienced this, but actually to kind of cross over to that place. And we were speaking about burnout earlier, and how do you think you get the balance right between expecting a lot of yourself, but also not pushing yourself to a point where you're beating yourself up all the time?
I mean, I'd probably say to having a good team around you for me now is God, it's so important for me. You know, when I first started out, I didn't have an agent, I didn't have a manager, didn't have any guidance. You know, I just played, you know, some really shitty shows, and for petrol money half the time. You know, whereas now, you know, I had an honest conversation with my manager. I mean, he was like, I could feel it coming anyway, you know. So he's like, right, you have this weekend off. We go through the diary. So I think it's really important to have, you know, a team that has compassion and empathy for what you do as well, because, you know, I am not a machine. You know, you could look at my summer schedule. I do 120 shows a year. I don't like taking time off. I've got so used to working. When I kind of stop working, I hit a brick wall and I get ill, and so I've always just constantly just got my foot on the pedal all the time, you know, sixth gear, let's go. And it's got me as far as I am now. And I wouldn't even really class myself too much as a producer. I would say like I'm a DJ, because you know, all those years ago, you didn't have to make records. You could just, and Simon actually gave me some really good advice. He just said, just really home in on your skills and just be a really good DJ. Because if you're not making top 10 Beatport tracks, you know, just don't waste your time. Now I'm telling people to, you know, but experiment and have fun. You know, I think that's what kind of people, you know, other artists look up to, you know, DJs and just see that it's all like, you know, confetti and cannons and your name in lights, and it's exhausting, you know, but as long as you have fun doing it, that's so important. And, you know, we have so much fun when we go out on the road together, and it's so nice now I'm not travelling on my own. I've got like, you know, my roadie, I call him like my shoulder to sleep on. It's like just dribbling on his arm on the flights. But yeah, just keep it fun, you know. That's one thing that I wish someone had told me, because I was so like business career minded and didn't kind of look either side. I was just like, and I exhausted myself out, and I forgot to have fun.
You lose sight. When you're not having fun, you lose sight.
It's what my biggest message at the moment. And again, as I say, I see what goes on behind the scenes, and you know, even myself, I'm getting busier as an artist. I mean, I've been doing music for 30 years on and off, you know, and gave up, you know, many years ago. 2012, put out a little EP. Oh, it's not got anywhere. I'm never going to make it. Give up, you know. But I got busy doing other stuff anyway. But I mean, Sam empowered me back to it. And even, you know, there's times when I say to her, like, I'm just too stressed out. You know, I'm running this record label. I started my own record label to back my own music. You know, I'm DJing. I played 3 shows in Saturday in London. Like, Monday, Tuesday wasn't fun. Part of that was self-inflicted, but, you know.
It wasn't fun for me either.
But listen, it has to be fun, because, like, otherwise, why are you doing it, you know? Like, we don't chase. We're not chasing to be, you know, so famous or whatever. And be careful what you wish for, because honestly, you know, as much as Sam's life looks amazing, and many of us would chop off our right arm, I can assure you that there's a lot more, you know, the flights, as it say, the horror story this weekend, you know, missing luggage, you know, but it is worth it. But at the same time, you've got to make it fun. Yeah. Don't take it too seriously.
Sometimes.
Definitely. I think that applies to the socials thing as well, because this is a question we get all the time is, you know, I don't find socials fun. I don't want to do it. Is it possible to have an artist project without doing the socials? And the general consensus last time we did this clinic was no. It's not probably possible to have an artist career without doing socials. But the key is making that fun also, you know, like find a way into it that's low effort, it's easy for you to do, and then it does kind of become fun, actually. It becomes easier. So yeah, that would be my advice on that.
Yeah. The other thing I would say actually is on marketing, and you mentioned it as well, is like there's lots of different ways to market yourself, and I think a lot of people get a bit like, oh, I don't want to do Instagram, but then maybe YouTube is a better channel for you, or maybe you can start a newsletter, or maybe it's about having a community, or having a kind of different, there's actually so many different ways to market yourself that are a bit broader, that if you're uncomfortable with one way of doing things, maybe there's another way that might suit you more.
I think it's also important to know as well, if you want to be an artist, a DJ and a producer, you know, you've got to go all out. You know, it's not, you can't just be one without the other now, you know. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is in this day and age, you know. So, but also, how badly do you want it? You know, you can just make, you know, you love making records, then it's a hobby. You love playing records, then it's just a hobby. But if you actually are really, really serious about making a career out of being a DJ and a producer, then, you know, these are all the boxes that you have to tick now to be successful. So it's just how far are you guys willing to take it?
Lois, I just have a question for you. In terms of all of the, you obviously work with so many different DJs and so many different artists.
Yeah.
What are some of the kind of, I guess, qualities that you see in the ones that are moving in a really healthy way at the moment?
Oh, good question. I think this is very simple. Being a fucking sound person. Like, honestly.
Don't be a dick.
Yeah, do not be a dick. Like, I mean, there's DJs out there who maybe are...
Name names.
No names to be named. But
we're not filming everything.
But the ones that I see that are doing well are the nice people. Sam... Lovely. Not just saying that because she's my friend as well, but
paid her as well.
Yeah, she did. No, never. Like the DJs that I see moving in the right direction, and the people that are just really fucking sound and not a dick and make healthy relationships in the music industry. And you know, there's certain DJs that I know that aren't making so healthy relationships, and people talk. The music industry is a lot smaller than you think, especially in dance music. People talk, and they'll also talk about the really sound people, and those people are the ones that I see going like that. So that's my take on it.
Very nice. And on that note, we've probably got time for one more question before we will take a quick 5-minute break and then jump into our A&R feedback session. So we've got one last question to round us off. Yeah, go for it.
On the point of mentorship, how do you get a mentor, or how would you go about getting a mentor if you're not signed to a label or anything like that?
I think you've got to put yourself out there. So I've been doing a lot of on TikTok lately, like giving people a lot of advice, and I've had this question loads, and I'm like, it is so important to network. Like, networking is key. Like, if you can, going to, like Sam was saying earlier, things like ADE, IMS, just like putting yourself out there. And if maybe you can't go to those things, like even just being here right now is a good step in the right direction. Chat to anyone. You don't know. You could be chatting to like a label manager of somewhere great, your favourite label you might not know, and that will get you further. And I think just yapping and networking is really important, and that's how it's gonna help you get a mentor. And also DM people on Instagram. You'd be surprised. Like, even for me, I sometimes, especially when I first started at Defected, I would sometimes have to DM DJs who I'd need to send music to, and I'd be like, they're never going to reply to me. They've got like hundreds of thousands of followers, and they replied, and I'm like, oh, okay, it's actually a lot easier than you think. So just you have to put yourself out there, and it will happen. And like Sam said, if you want it, it will happen for you. You'll get it.
Same sort of vibe. I mean, you know how Simon Dunmore become my mentor. It's not, I didn't go up to him and say, hi Simon, can you be my mentor? It was because I was going to Defected every single Tuesday. That was the record label that I wanted to be signed for, without a doubt. You know, half of my record collection was Defected. I love the music. I love the vibe of the parties. So I went religiously every Tuesday, and then bumped into the A&R at Defected at the time that came into a record shop that I was working in Notting Hill, and he was like, come backstage, and that's how I got to meet Simon. And he was like, you're that girl that's always at the front singing every single event, you know. And it's just about putting yourself out there. I always say, if you want to be signed to a record label, then go to that party. Because don't just send them a
100%.
record that's not even their sound. That makes no sense. So be really sure of like the sound and the label that you want to be signed to or you want to be affiliated and associated with, and go. Just like just keep going. Just keep going.
On Sam's point about going to the parties, so important. So, a girl I work with, I hate to ever call someone my assistant. We'll call her my coordinator. No, she's amazing, and she literally, her name's Phoebe. Shout out Phoebe. She's not here,
Big
but
up
she's
Phoebe.
an absolute babe. She was going to all the Defected parties. And she was just buzzing around. I don't even know how she was backstage. She just was all the time. She just got
Talk about
there.
yourself.
Yeah, no, actually, she is actually my double. But and I just kept seeing her and her mates just flitting around. She was always at Defected Croatia, and because I just saw her so much, and she was just chatting. I was like, "You are great," and I introduced her to Wes, and fast forward, she now works with me, and she works at Defected. She had no music industry experience. She was just always at the parties and just presented herself so well, even if she was a bit mash up at the parties. Like, she was great. And so like Sam said, go to the parties, put yourself out there. Go, if you want to work for a certain label, go to their parties.
Thank you so much. I think on that note, we're going to wrap our panel up there. So can we have a massive round of applause, please, for our panel? Cash only. The absolutely legendary Sam DeVINE and Lois Marshall of Defected Records.